very much, and good afternoon. Welcome into today's Community Comment. Again, I am your host, Kevin Haugen. It's a pleasure to be back on Community Comment after being away on vacation and then sick the last couple of weeks. So it's good to be back in the Daily Dodge TV studio hosting Community Comment. And on our program this afternoon, it's my pleasure to welcome into our Daily Dodge TV studio with the Iron Ridge Fire Department. It's my pleasure to welcome into the conversation today Fire Chief Jason Keller. Jason, thank you so much for coming in this afternoon.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And we have a lot to talk about today. We're really here to talk primarily about the staffing there at the Iron Ridge Fire Department and what we can do to bolster those ranks and find ways to get people to get interested in that as a career choice. And a lot of people that work there, it's not their primary career. They work other jobs, so it's a lot to balance. But it's an important call throughout all of Dodge County, throughout the state of Wisconsin, getting more people into the fire fighting service industry. So we'll tackle that here throughout our program this afternoon. But before we dive into the meat of that conversation, Jason, I want to give you the opportunity first to let our listeners and viewers know and explain to them kind of what the Iron Ridge Fire Department is and how it's established. It's a bit unique compared to some of the agencies in our surrounding areas. So I hand the mic over to you, Jason. Essentially, how is the Iron Ridge Fire Department set up?
So we are classified as what's called a 501c4. We're a nonprofit organization. We are staffed by volunteers who do receive compensation. We have about 30 volunteers between our fire and EMS. Cover about 50 square miles, serve the townships of Herman, Hubbard, Rubicon, and also the village of Iron Ridge. What makes us unique is that we're privately owned. So no municipality owns us. We contract with our municipalities. We've been contracting with our municipalities for 136 years. So we were established in 1888, and just have very fortunate to be where we are at this point. We've had great leaders over the years that have helped guide us. Our board of directors does a great job of helping guide our department in the right direction and planning for the future.
Yeah, maybe on the maybe for a little bit of context. So normally, at least like in the city of Beaver Dam, if you go up north to Waupun or east here to Horicon, a lot of fire departments or Mayville are oversaw by what's called a police and fire commission. There's people who make decisions on that front. It's a government agency that is supported by that. But Iron Ridge is completely unique in that front, where it is a private fire department essentially that contracts out with local communities. And you mentioned that you serve the townships of Herman, Hubbard, Rubicon, and the village of Iron Ridge, of course. And is that about where the extent of, and again, we'll dive into this in a little bit talking about staffing, but have been looking at expanding that to more communities, or is that just about where Iron Ridge is able to serve with the capacity of staff that they have currently?
Yeah, I don't think actively we're looking to expand our area. We do have an automatic mutual aid agreement with the communities, the fire departments in Neosho and Hughesford. So we are responding as well as them to all the fire calls. The EMS calls we're still separated on. If anything, it wouldn't be looking to take area from anybody in the future. And I think a lot of departments are going to have this discussion, especially in a county as large as ours, where we have over 20 fire departments. Mergers or some sort of consolidation, we're working closer together, and it's a good thing. We're already doing it in a lot of phases, training. Then we're talking about budgets and purchases, but we have good working relationships with all our communities and our neighboring departments.
Yeah, and being a rural county is Dodge County, it does make it more challenging to be able to cover these areas, because it's just not a quick drive down the road. If there's a call, there is a lot of back roads, a lot of area to cover. You mentioned 50 square miles of territory that the Iron Ridge Fire Department covers, and a lot of that is not, they're not easy places to get to and access to. So there's certainly challenges to overcome in being able to serve all those communities that the Iron Ridge Fire Department covers with the staffing that they have. And we'll dive more into that in just a moment. But before we do, Jason, I want to also give you the opportunity to let our listeners and viewers know a little bit more about you and how you wound up as the fire chief of the Iron Ridge Fire Department.
Sure. So I've been doing this for 14 years. This is my third year as the fire chief here in Iron Ridge. I never was really something that I thought about growing up. I didn't go to bed at night and dream of fire trucks. That wasn't me. My grandpa was a fireman for Iron Ridge many years before, and it wasn't something that he really talked too much about. But I think it's something he took pride in, that he helped his community out. And it just really came down to the fire chief at the time. I'll give him a shout out, Jason Bake, who's a mentor and a very good friend of mine. Taking me aside at our yearly fundraiser and saying, "Why aren't you on the fire department?" And I really did not have a good answer on why. I don't know. So I was at a point in my life where I needed a little direction, maybe a kick in the butt a little bit. And the fire department served as that. It's been a fantastic opportunity helping me grow personally and professionally. And I carry that on with me when we get new members. We have somebody that comes and wants to become part of our organization that maybe doesn't have their life quite in order. I look back at the opportunities that I was given and try and give those people those opportunities too, because I know what a life-changing possibility this career has, or this volunteer opportunity has, where it can actually change your life, and also you get to change other people's lives. And there's no better feeling than being able to help somebody out when they're in their time of need.
It's also a great pitch for maybe, again, those who are on the fence about joining the fire service industry. And it seems like it's a rewarding a career choice, but it is a commitment. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to be able to do, but at least how you were describing it, Jason, it seems like you made the correct choice in pursuing this as your career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Again, we're joined with Jason Keller here on Community Comment today. He is the fire chief of the Iron Ridge Fire Department. It's a private fire department that contracts with several townships here in our area. Again, that's the townships of Herman, Hubbard, Rubicon, and the village of Iron Ridge as well. We talked a moment ago just about how rural Dodge County is and how spread out it is. And a lot of times when people think about rural communities in rural counties, they think that things are quiet, that things don't happen quite often. But for your agency, for the Iron Ridge Fire Department, that's not the case. There's been a steady increase over the last couple of years when it comes to the amount of call volumes that you guys are getting on a month-to-month basis, and the year-over-year change that you guys are seeing when it comes to the amount of calls you guys are responding to.
Yeah, absolutely. It is kind of staggering when you have the numbers in front of you and you look at it. And this conversation pretty much stemmed off of a post that we had on Facebook where we were like, letting our community know we've gone out over 200 times for service this year, which is a huge increase. Our record year, and we're not bragging about it because,
Yeah.
but 171 calls in 2023. That was the most we ever had. And so we're at about a 20% increase from last year already. And then I had our awesome captain run back and run some numbers for me, and she went 5 years back to 2019. And this stat actually kind of blew my mind when I looked at it. Was in 2019, our service for fire and EMS ran 104 calls. As of today, we're at 210. So we've doubled our call volume in a 5-year period, which is insane, considering the size of our community and the area we serve. And then we haven't really seen a huge increase in volunteers. We've had members retire because they've reached their 20 years or beyond that. and they've decided, I want to step back. We've had people move out of the area. We have brought some new people in, young and old, but we have to look to the future and say, looking at these trends, if we continue along this path with what we have and what we have available, especially during the day, it's not going to be sustainable for us to continue to provide the level of service and at the quality that we are providing it.
You had mentioned just 5 years ago already doubling the amount of calls. We're not even already through November yet, and you're already doubled calls from 5 years ago. Could you point to what's causing this? I feel like every time we do have a fire chief come in or members of police departments, they, one common thing they always say is, calls, they just continue to go up. We've never seen a trend of them going down. As being the chief of the Iron Ridge Fire Department, having been there for as long as you've been there, Jason, is there something that you are able to point to, or is it just how it's been, and there's nothing that you can point to as the reason that this is happening?
Well, I think, and this goes for a lot of things in the fire department, is a generational issue, right? So we have an aging baby boomer generation, very large portion of the population. They are reaching older ages, and with old age comes medical issues. So I think that's a big part of the increase. People are more dependent on the 911 system, I think. If you looked at the numbers post-COVID or pre-COVID and post-COVID, I think you would definitely see a higher trend across the board as well. If you sat down with any other chief or any other EMS director, they'd say, since 2019, 2020, we have seen an increase.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's so important to know with this is whenever you guys get a call, it's not just hop in your trucks and you head out. There's so much work and prep work that goes into every single time that you leave the station, and even when you come back to after everything's done, to get everything back to where it needs to be, cleaned and put back and organized again. There is so much work that goes to every single one of the calls that goes out. It's just not a simple process of, you get your keys and you hop in the truck and it's, a couple of minutes down the road. It's a long process. So each one takes a lot out of each one of those members of the fire department there in Iron Ridge. And again, there's around, I think you mentioned 30 members there at the Iron Ridge Fire Department.
Yep.
And, before we go into, again, I keep promising we'll talk about getting staffing, but I want to give you the opportunity to throw some praise towards those the 30 members that you have right now at the Iron Ridge Fire Department, how important it is, and their willingness to come in and do this every day, and how important it is to serve the members of all the communities that you serve, to have these 30 individuals right now on staff there to assist what you guys are doing there in Iron Ridge.
Yeah, well, I consider myself one of the luckiest guys in the county with the group that I have that is very multi-talented. We have people with extreme resumes in their professional careers, and they're able to bring that into our organization. We have some very dedicated members that I can't even begin to explain how much they mean to us, because they're simply our calls that we would not be able to respond to, or we would be responding to at late, that are able to leave their jobs. We have employers in the community that are willing to let their employees leave, and it's a great group. And they don't just put the work in in training and on the fire scenes. It's fundraisers that we do to help fund ourselves to increase our revenue. It's community activities. We do a lot in our community, and if you guys want a taste of what we do, I encourage you guys to go look at our Facebook page, because it is full of stuff that we do out in the community. We want people to know that we're here, that what we're doing for them, that they're getting a good value for what they're paying for.
Yeah, and I think that's also a real quick side note, important thing that I've noticed with the Iron Ridge Fire Department that I haven't noticed maybe a couple years ago is how active you guys are on social media and online, and not just posting updates and pictures about trainings and other opportunities, but actual incidents that take place and fires, and this past summer with the flooding that took place and how much that was in response that you guys had to go out and deal with all the homes and businesses that were impacted there. So it does seem like a focus that presenting and communicating and getting the public on the same page and educating them about what you guys do. That's such an important part of the job.
Yeah, I think transparency is big, and I think people drive past our facility and they look at it and they go, "Wow, that's a very nice fire station for this community," right? And again, that was built off the hard work and the backs of a lot of our volunteers, but they see that and they go, "Okay, what do they all do?" And they just see what we have and they're like, "Oh, they must be fine." And we're doing fine. We're doing okay, but we could always do better. And we're very fortunate for what we do have. But we want the community to know, hey, we're out here. This is what we're doing. This is what's happening in your community, and let them know that maybe this is going great, maybe this isn't going great.
Again, we're joined with Jason Keller, the fire chief of the Iron Ridge Fire Department, here on Community Comment today. I kept saying we'll get to it. We're finally getting to it now. Staffing, again, a topic that comes up quite often when we have fire chiefs on from other agencies throughout the county here in Dodge County. And Chief, what when it comes to Iron Ridge Fire Department, what is that message that we want to share with the public about staffing and getting more people involved and filling out your ranks there?
Yeah, so we are volunteers. And we compensate our volunteers on our department for call responses, for trainings, and for meetings that they show up to. Now, nobody's going to get rich doing it. Definitely none of us are doing it for the money. Yeah. It's really for the community and to help that the financial aspect of it is, more of a side benefit. Hey, we appreciate everything you've done, and we want to make sure you guys are compensated in some way. But we, like I said, we have 30 members. 10 of those are EMRs. We are EMR level service, so we do not transport. We're first responders. Okay. We work with 4 different transporting agencies. So Mayville, Allenton, Hartford, and Horicon Ambulance we work with. So primarily our EMRs are showing up before the ambulances, providing care before the ambulance gets there, especially in critical situations. We only have 10 of those people, and most of us are gone during the day at our jobs. We have most of our responders are trained above that EMR level. We promote education and we promote people advancing themselves. So if that's something that somebody's interested in, when they think about what they want to do in their life or their career, they live in our area. We're not just going to handcuff you and say we're an EMR service. You have to only be an EMR. Go to that. No, we provide additional opportunities for people to go get education, advance their skills, advance their level, and oftentimes those people will advance professionally and they may move to a bigger department. They may go to Western Lakes to the south, or they may go to Beaver Dam, and that's fine. We still want to get some value out of them, but I value seeing people improve, and if it helps another neighboring department out, the odds are I'm going to run into them on their scene too, because we're all helping each other. Right. So
yeah, and also a big part of this too, you mentioned even with the 30 members that you have on staff already, they have other jobs, they have other responsibilities. So there's a side of this where you need to have the support and buy-in from their employers to be able to allow them to be a part of this. And I know that's kind of a messaging that's important to you, Chief, that you want to get out there to the communities that you serve. And it's getting those local businesses and employers that they maybe have people on their staff that, hey, I'm interested in this, I want to sign up, and allowing them to be able to do this and work with their schedule that they can help out in any capacity. Yeah,
so we are very fortunate in our community that we have some businesses that are wonderful supporters of us, and we have a few as well that we have members that work there. They allow those people to leave during the day, but really, the daytime staffing is an issue. And while we're receiving aid from other departments, they're having daytime staffing issues. The response time for them to get to our community as well, there's a time for that. So one project that we're working on is reaching out. We're going to be sending a letter out to our local business leaders and saying, hey, would you guys consider partnering with us to allow your employees to leave during work hours, especially during the daytime, and see if they're interested in joining our organization, and then it's mutually beneficial in our eyes. Hopefully, it is in theirs as well. But having well-trained individuals within your organization now to help promote safety and health within your company, having people with medical training there in your facility, that if an injury happens, they're getting treated promptly and correctly, and financial benefits by us having a well-staffed and well-trained group that helps keep insurance rates low in the community. There's potential for insurance benefits and workers' compensation and things like that for the company by having employees on staff and by promoting that culture, keeping injuries down.
It can be very mutually beneficial for all parties involved to help out and allow members of their staff to take part of this. And the other component of this that's such an important piece that obviously nobody likes to talk about is money. Obviously, people still need money to be able to operate. You need it to pay staff, need to purchase apparatus, to have equipment to be able to do the job that you do. And obviously, being an agency that contracts out, communities are limited by how much they have in their taxing authority and their tax levies to be able to give to fire departments and to support them. And I don't know that something that we've talked about here even before coming on air is, a lot of communities are tapped out. They have reached the max of what they can be able to provide, and that still doesn't stop the Iron Ridge Fire Department from still searching out other opportunities through grants and other ways to be able to support the cause that you guys have, correct?
Yeah, so in 2022, our EMS captain, Kelly, she applied for a state grant. We received $75,000, which is big for our organization. We were able to make a very beneficial purchase for us at that time. And it wasn't something that we originally were considering, but we purchased a used ambulance from Lake Mills EMS. And unfortunately, the reason we were able to is because Lake Mills EMS was going out of business. With that, we were able to purchase a cardiac monitor, which was one of our original plans on purchasing. And that was made possible because our first responder organization, along with our medical direction, spearheaded a movement statewide to include cardiac monitoring at the emergency medical responder level. And in an area like ours, yes, minutes we're talking about before the ambulance gets there, they could hook up their monitor, but those minutes are very important in a cardiac situation. But where it really has a huge ripple effect is when we start getting up into the rural areas, northern Wisconsin, where response times for EMS agencies are 20, 30 minutes maybe, and they have first responders showing up. Not only do now we have the ability to use that tool, those organizations do, greatly increasing sustainability for people having cardiac issues and allowing them at that level to call resources much earlier and identifying those things.
Great. All right. Crazy how fast the time goes here in our community.
Yeah.
We just have a few more minutes left, but I feel like 20 more questions we can dive into. So, but unfortunately, our time is wrapping up short. With the few minutes that we do have left, Jason, is there a place you mentioned? Facebook is something you guys are very active on. Is there a website that people can go to, or just stopping down at the station if they are interested in learning more about getting involved with the Iron Ridge Fire Department?
Yeah, so you can give us a call. Our number is 920-644-2747. Leave a message. And my number's on there too if you need to get a hold of me. Our Facebook, we are always putting stuff out there, Iron Ridge Fire Department and First Responders. You can message us on there. Our email, ironridgefire@gmail.com, or just talk to one of our members. I think our members are very active in the community. Most of them are pretty well known, and so if it's something you haven't considered, I would encourage you to do it. And we have other opportunities besides a firefighter or somebody doing EMS. We have what's called a fire corps as well, where people can volunteer their time and talents in other aspects of our community, our organization.
Fantastic. Well, we'd love to continue this conversation down the road, Jason. We'd love to have you back on Community Comment.
Yeah.
But I want to thank our guest this afternoon here on Community Comment, Fire Chief of the Iron Ridge Fire Department, Jason Keller. Jason, thank you again so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
And that will do it for today's Community Comment.